Hey movie fans, it's your host of the Empty Popcorn Buckets Productions, and today we're diving into the roller coaster that was Phase 4 of the MCU. And let me tell you, it was something. But let's get one thing straight right off the bat. Thor Love and Thunder easily hands down the best movie of Phase 4. No contest. I mean, come on. Screaming goats? Hemsworth being peak Hemsworth?
This ends here and now!
Oh. And a totally straightforward tone that never felt jarring, right? Okay. That is kind of a hot take. But this is my video, my rules.
Okay. Just a nightmare. I really need to stop falling asleep watching Thor Love and Thunder. Maybe I should actually watch Thor Love and Thunder. Nah. Welcome back, everyone, to my MCU Rewatch Series. My name's Colton Johnson with Empty Popcorn Bucket Productions, and I very much hope you enjoyed that intro. It's something I was working on pretty much all week, so I hope you enjoyed it. Now that we have conquered the Infinity Saga, we are now jumping into the Multiverse Saga and starting off with Phase 4. I feel like when they gave this saga a title prior to any big setup, it loses out on some ambiguous momentum. I know, we already have an established universe, but treading into the waters of the multiverse can be pretty messy and difficult and very challenging in a lot of ways. So let's see if Marvel Studios has what it takes. And if you haven't yet, please go check out the first 3 parts of this series. It's been definitely a blast putting them together and adding a little things here and there. So I would deeply appreciate if you go check those out, like them, subscribe, all that. And if you didn't know by now, we are going through the movies of Phase 4 first for this video. The next week, we will be jumping into the series and special presentations of Phase 4. I do want to preface by saying that this was probably honestly the hardest phase to get through, and I'm still not done as I'm recording. I have watched all the movies, so that's why I'm splitting it. I mentioned splitting it in my last video, but I just didn't know where to start. And I really wanted to go through release order, but with balancing movies and series, it can make it very time consuming. And on top of that, I ended up getting the stomach flu, which caused some delays as well. But hey, I was able to release this video on time, so that is a big win. So without further ado, let's hop into the multiverse on this roller coaster adventure that I would like to call the movies of Phase 4. Starting off with Black Widow. In my opinion, when I first saw this movie, it quickly became one of my lowest rated MCU movies. And I don't know why, but I first saw it and I just got a bad taste in my mouth. But as time has gone on, I've overlooked some of those flaws and found enjoyment and have seen aspects that do work. I do like Yelena and the Red Guardian, and I feel like they did a really good job introducing those characters for the future. I feel like this movie was about 7 years too late. We should have gotten a Black Widow movie sometime during Phase 2 or even Phase 3. But with Thunderbolts releasing later this year, I am very excited to see some of these characters reappear in the MCU. But this movie felt uninteresting at times, and maybe it's because I don't have too much interest in the character of Black Widow, but I do appreciate them giving Black Widow the time to shine, even though the movie doesn't. So unfortunately, this movie gets a D or a 2.5 out of 5 stars. But hey, at least it's not the lowest. Next, we have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Or Shang-Chi, I don't know. I don't want to sound off. It feels like it's been forever since we had a new character origin story in the MCU. This is such a fresh movie, and honestly, I feel like it gets swept under the rug. But it's incredible. It's one of those where you honestly don't need to watch much before seeing it. I feel like Shang-Chi is underutilized in the MCU, and I really hope we get to see him in more projects in the future. And I feel like this movie has such a fun vibe, and it was a really fun one to visit. It's really good, and it's very stunning, and it especially has some great fight choreography. I also like the fact that they brought back Trevor Slattery, reprising his role as the fake Mandarin. He also is going to be in Wonder Man later this year, so that will be fun to see. Overall, this movie is excellent and super fun to watch. So this one gets an A, or a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Then we have Eternals. This one is a slow burn, dry epic. It's stunning in its visuals, but feels way too long. And I don't even think this is the longest one in this phase. Narratively, it's confusing, and there's too much exposition and world building. The emergence of the Celestial was pretty cool, and I'm excited to see the payoff to that in Brave New World. I think this almost feels disconnected to the MCU, even with blatant references. It tries to explain creation and sets forth a lot of whys. Overall, this is a slow but beautiful movie. So if you have the energy to put into watching this, I say go for it. It's not as rewatchable as others, but hey, it's alright, it's good, it's fine. It is what it is. And I feel like this movie may have worked as a series instead, but they did what they did. So this movie gets a C, or 3 out of 5. Now, here's the peak and pinnacle of this phase. Spider-Man No Way Home. Remember when I said that Spider-Man is one of my all-time favorite superheroes? Well, this one is like a beautiful tribute to Spider-Man. And this is honestly one of my favorite Marvel movies and Spider-Man movies. This movie feels like a big event film. It's the first MCU movie that fully embraces the multiverse and sets up so many great things for the future. This movie has a lot more of a serious feel than the other MCU Spider-Man movies, which I really enjoyed. And I just love watching this movie. It's definitely probably the most rewatchable in this phase. I also just love watching and seeing the old characters return, like the villains and the old Spider-Man again. I also love the addition of Doctor Strange because I feel like having that built dynamic between him and Peter Parker worked so well. And I also think that Zendaya was fantastic as MJ. She's an incredible actress. And Tom Holland also did really great here. And I can't wait to see more Spider-Man in the MCU. This movie is fantastic and I love the new suit. This movie is S tier, or 5 out of 5 stars. Now, let's talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Though I was initially really hyped for this movie when it first came out, especially riding the coattails of No Way Home, but looking back and seeing 2 multiverse movies put together feels a little bit messy, but it's okay. Especially when there's not a lot of interconnectivity between the two, besides a cheeky reference about No Way Home. Anyways, I feel like this movie makes a lot of choices. Some are very good choices, while others are rather interesting, and others completely fall flat. Making the Scarlet Witch the villain was very interesting, and I wouldn't say it's bad, but just interesting. I'm still torn on this movie and I still can't really fully decide if I like it or not. It's one of those where I go back and forth, and one day I'll like it, the other I'm like, meh, but some movies are that way. I think the score from Danny Elfman is pretty fantastic, and I think the visuals are pretty great as well. I think the cameos were fun, but the plot was very messy, but it does have some cool moments. This movie also offers some pretty big concepts to the MCU, and hopefully in the future they will get paid off. I do think having better payoff from WandaVision would have made this slightly better, but it's okay. Overall, it's alright and still a fun watch, but still not as great as it could have been. This one gets a B, or a 3.5 out of 5. Now, I just want to have a moment of silence for this next movie. Thor: Love and Thunder. From the intro, you can already see where this is going. I wasn't ready to rewatch this again, and honestly, it took me several tries to rewatch this. I wasn't kidding when I said I fell asleep. But I had to turn it on, hide my phone and the remote, and start the movie. This movie could have worked, but it didn't. It's an adaptation of two really interesting stories from Marvel Comics. But with all great things, there are lesser things. And that's where this movie comes to play. I do like having Jane as the mighty Thor. I felt like that worked pretty well. And I do like some of the vignette moments, like Thor and Jane's love story. But everything, it feels so oversaturated and very unfunny. I just feel like it ruined what could have been one of the best villains in the MCU as well. The movie is just very frustrating, and I just really hope that Thor can be redeemed theatrically soon. This movie is almost too ridiculous and not easy to be watched, obviously, and I also freaking hate the goats. It's a 10-year-old joke, and it just should remain dead. This movie, though it does have a few good moments, very few, it is considerably the worst MCU movie. I still appreciate the great talent Taika Waititi brings to the universe, because he has a very unique style of directing, and he did indeed direct Thor Ragnarok. But he also directed this. And this one gets a D, or 2 out of 5 stars. Now, we have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, the last movie of the list. I haven't revisited this one since it first released over 2 years ago, and I was surprised by how much I actually really enjoyed it. I really thought I was going to get bored, but I really got invested and remember that it's honestly a really good watch. I don't think it's better than the first one, but it still stays pretty strong and is honestly a great film overall. I feel like it is a little too long at a runtime of nearly 3 hours, but I get there's a lot of emotional beats to take in. I feel like even the subplot with Everett and Valentina was a good addition to the story, and I honestly really like the character of Valentina in the MCU. I'll talk a little bit about her again in the next video, but they're setting her up for some really great things in this saga. And I feel like this movie is well paced, has some great action sequences, and I feel like Shuri was a fantastic lead and a great Black Panther. The villain also felt underwhelming at times when I first saw it, but I ended up liking him more this time around. The visuals are very stunning and has a beautiful score. With all that being said, it is very sad that we did lose Chadwick Boseman too soon. He is deeply missed, but I feel like this movie was a great honor and tribute to him. This movie gets a solid A, or 4 out of 5 stars. Now, let's jump into this tier ranking. Since we're in a new saga, we're going to do a little bit different by starting a new tier list. But I will include these movies into my full tier list at the end. But if you want to see my full ranking, go check out my Letterboxd link in the description below. So first, at S tier, we have Spider-Man No Way Home, for obvious reasons. Then we have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is at A tier. This movie is fresh, and I really enjoyed it. Then we have Black Panther Wakanda Forever, also at A tier. Great sequel, and it was just a great time. Then, at B tier, we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. A little messy, but still a lot of fun. Then, at C, we have The Eternals. Beautiful, but very dull and long. Now we are going into our D category with Black Widow. Not a very interesting film, and it just feels out of place. Then last, but certainly least, Thor Love and Thunder at D tier. And just think of the screaming goats. And here's my tier list all together with the inclusion of the Infinity Saga. I am not going to go into detail at where everything is at, but here it is. That's it for the movies of Phase 4, but we're not done. Join me next week as we go through the series and specials of Phase 4. I promise I am a lot nicer to the series than I am with the movies. And a quick little announcement. After next week's video, which will be the series, we will pause this journey, but there will be a new movie review the week after, which will be Captain America Brave New World. Then, leading up to the Ironheart series, which will come out later in June, we will continue the Phase 5 movies. Then, we will jump into the series of Phase 5s after that show wraps. Since Phase 6 begins with Fantastic Four, we may have to wait until way after Secret Wars to finish this. But I'll review each movie and series maybe as they come out. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share.
Is this thing on? Hello? Test, test, 1, 2, 3, test, test. This is not the right look to go for. It's hot in there. I don't know how Ryan Reynolds can do that the entire movie. Okay, let's talk about Phase 4 because, wow, what a doozy, right? I mean, who doesn't love multiversal madness, a giant celestial popping out of the earth, and whatever was going on in Thor Love and Thunder? What? Too soon? Hey, they lived. Hey! Look, Phase 4 was like an all-you-can-eat buffet. Some dishes were chef's kiss, and the others were... they should have just been left in the kitchen. But hey, we survived, and the highs were pretty high. No Way Home, Wakanda Forever, Shang-Chi, absolute bangers. Let's be real for a second. Change is hard, right? I mean, look at me. New hair, new vibe, new host. Feels weird, doesn't it? You're probably sitting there thinking, wait, you're not... But, please stay. Don't close out. Please stay. Doesn't matter. You're gonna get used to it or not. Either way, I like this new direction. Anyways, Phase 4 was just the beginning. Stick around. Things are only gonna get crazier from here. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and all the other YouTube stuff. Trust me, you want us to be here for the next phase. Cam, signing out. Seriously? This shirt? It is iconic, though.